I'm going to call the meeting to order. The commission shall serve as an advisory role to assist residents, businesses, and the government of Monroe County in addressing issues of gender equity in all aspects of society. The mission is to advance the status of women in all areas of county life and to champion women's contributions to local culture and society. I then wanted to start out with introductions, even real quick, because we have our newest commissioner, Kathleen. So I was trying to think earlier of things we might say just besides our names that might be a little bit interesting to us, and then we'll end with Kathleen, who can tell us a little bit about who she is. And then, I don't know, so say something, maybe how long you've been here and what your hope is for this or something, maybe.
Let's say what subcommittees we're on too,
Okay.
just so she knows.
So I'm Susan Hingle. I am the chair of the Monroe County Women's Commission. I've been chair since, I think, last December. I've been a little over a year. I think my post started in January of 22. I am on the subcommittee for gender equity and justice response. And that's all there is to know about me.
Hi, welcome. I'm Maria Douglas, and I am the development director for Middle Way House in my for-pay work. And then I've been on the committee or on the commission for almost a year, a little over a year maybe. And I am on the subcommittees for Girls Coding Camp and for the Community Justice Response.
She's also the vice chair.
I'm also the vice chair.
Hi, I'm Julie Hardesty. I'm a librarian over at Indiana University. And I've been on the committee. I think I closed out a commissioner position from like November through the end of the year. And then I started in a 2-year role in January this year. So I'm relatively recent to the commission. So, but I'm helping out with the Girls Coding Camp subgroup and the Gender Equity and Justice Response subgroup.
I'm Nikki Williamson. I'm the secretary of the Monroe County Women's Commission. I am a social worker and currently work at the IU School of Social Work. I'm not serving on any subcommittees right now because I'm the secretary, so I'm busy doing all of those things. So, welcome. We're so glad you're here.
Molly.
I'm Molly Otto. I'm a Medicare specialist for pay work, and I've been on the commission almost a year now. I was recruited by Michelle, and I'm not currently on any subcommittees either, but look forward to joining one, and welcome to you. Thank you for being with us.
I'm skipping Beth for now. She's our guest speaker.
Oh, okay. I was wondering. Do I turn on the?
Yep. Oh, yeah.
Okay. Hello. I'm Kathleen Sobiak, and I currently am adjunct faculty with Notre Dame. My area of specialty is qualitative research, so I'd be very interested if there are any research opportunities that involve the commission. That's something I'm interested in. I am also very interested in the justice work you are doing. Right now I'm involved with the Bedford, the Lawrence County Crisis Intervention Team that they have there. So I'm the committee chair for that. I'm just interested in that work. So if there's opportunity, I think I need to maybe just sit back and learn for a while so I don't have to jump in with anything in particular, but that is something of interest to me. So thank you for
Thanks.
the appointment. Yeah.
Do you mind spelling your last name for me?
Sobiech, Sobiech. It's a tough one to pronounce if you haven't heard someone pronounce it.
Let's approve. Oh, that's Jennifer. She'll introduce herself in a second. She's a county council. She's a county council person. So I sent out the agenda this week. Hopefully everyone has had a chance to look at it. If there are no amendments to the agenda, if I have a motion to approve, that would be wonderful.
Motion to approve.
Second,
Second.
all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes, or the agenda passes. We also sent out the minutes, and we also have them here in tree form. And then does anybody have any corrections that need to be made to the minutes?
The link for the slides, I didn't get a chance to look at it until today, and it did not bring up slides for me. It brought up some sort of thing about Canva loading something in a new window. So I don't know, I wasn't able to actually link the slides up from the presentation last time in the minutes.
Okay. Yeah, she made it in Canva and sent it to me like that.
Okay,
so
yeah,
I'm
whatever
sure.
it was that's in the Dropbox, it's like an HTML page.
Okay, I'll see if I
Yeah,
can drop them
but
in there.
That's the only thing I saw, I think.
Okay,
We already voted on the agenda, though.
I meant
Or
the
on
minutes.
The minutes.
We did?
Oh, did we vote on the agenda?
Yeah, first,
Oh, now we're doing the minutes.
correct.
Okay, sorry.
Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes.
Do I have a second?
I'll second with the slide link updated
All
thing.
in
Yeah.
favor of the approval of the minutes with the update to the presentation slides?
Aye.
Aye. That minutes approved. Okay, so I'm going to make this, I don't know what we could call this, but I invited Jennifer here after last week when I watched I was like, I don't know I just want to say CGRC, but it's not that. And I know it was something kind of we were interested in actually. So I thought I would invite councilperson Crosley to come here and just maybe give us like a who, what, why about that committee. So, because it's something I know that we're all interested in. So if you don't mind, Jennifer, like telling us a little bit about what's going on there.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you all for allowing me to be here and to give a brief synopsis of a new acronym committee to the county. So to give a little bit of context of how we got to JFAC, just to kind of give a brief synopsis. I'm sure people are aware, but if you are not, some of us, we had the Criminal Justice Response Committee, which is also known as CJRC. And back in early part of the spring, it was suspended. And so we got county council got a lot of community input, and folks were reaching out to us and had started to explain that, maybe under your purview, maybe under your lane, you can do something with with your financial responsibility. Because again, as I don't always want to assume that people know, because people don't. County council is basically the financial pocketbook holder of the county. And so we do a lot of things with financing. And of course, commissioners do things with contracts and things. So we all work in ebbs and flows as well. So once that was suspended, it gave some of us on the county council a chance to take a pause and to figure out what exactly do we need to do next. Because again, the Criminal Justice Response Committee was supposed to be a response to some reports that the county got a few years ago, because there is talks of us designing a new jail in our county due to how the seasoned building that we have here. And, there's lots of concerns about lots of different things related to that. So that's how we got to that point. Myself, along with counselors Kate Wiltz and Counselor Peter Iverson, were 3 members of the CJRC. And so we decided, and County Council also approved for us to do something called JFAC, which is the Justice Financial Advisory Committee. So with that being said, we understand that we have a big responsibility. And even though, you know, final decisions in terms of how big, how small, all of those things still have yet to be determined, money talks. And so with that being said, a lot of that deals with the falls under our purview. So we decided to create this. We have 3 members of the body, which again are myself, Kate Wiltz, and Peter Iverson. And then we also have ex officios, if you will, from the county and from the community as well, which is something that we were asking to have in CJRC. So in this particular one, we'll still have some of the similar makeup. You'll still have some of the judicial branches, the judicial branch. You also will have prosecutor, public defender. But we also, new part of this is we've been listening to the community, and the community has been saying you can't do any of this without having somebody with lived experience that has been into the facility. So we will have a person, and it's a rotating person that will come from the community. And so if anybody is looking to, if anybody's watching this, or any of you all know somebody with lived experience, I've reached out to people to ask. And so we have had input. So if there is somebody that is, that you know that has been incarcerated here in Monroe County, again, that is an important and vital piece. So please send them our way, and you know, we can discuss with them what that looks like. And then we also have now city folks that are going to be on there. So we have a member of the city council and a department head from the city as well too. So I'm excited about that. Our big meeting that we have that will be coming up, we had our organizational meeting on June 5th. So if you watch it, it seemed a little, but it's an organizational meeting because this was our first time of really getting out there and just, you know, putting it out there. Because we also want to make sure that we are being open, honest, but most importantly, transparent. We want to make sure that public know, you know, we don't know everything, and that's okay. But as we are figuring these things out, we can do this in a public kind of setting. So that was what our organizational meeting was. The next meeting that we'll have is June 29th, which is Thursday, and it's going to be in this room, the Nat U Hill room, starting at 4:30. And we'll have a rotating chair. I'll be the chair for that designated meeting, and the first meeting that we'll talk about, the topic of discussion is diversion. So we'll have different types of conversations and topics. And with all that being said, we will take this back to the larger body and the powers that be because we know budget is coming. So we have to make sure that we're doing all of these things before the new year so we can have a set in place and say, this is what we have. So that is what I have right now.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Does anybody have questions?
I just have a logistics question. There was talk of having an email address for the committee.
Yes.
Is that still going to be a
Yes,
thing?
that is still something that is happening, and I believe it is live now. So if you, and I can
the
definitely,
website is up for it. I was looking today and I didn't see an email yet.
It should be, but I can, sorry. I'll double check to see if it is, because from my understanding, our council staff has said it was up and running. But I want to make sure and go over my notes because there's been lots of discussion, and we just had a meeting this past Tuesday. Okay. So I will look into that and I will get back to you, but we definitely, if it's not up yet, it is definitely coming because we want to make sure that it's a specific email address where everybody can just send it, because that was one of the concerns that I had. So instead of trying to figure out the long laundry list of, you know, the folks that are on the committee and the ex officios, whomever, it just goes to one email, we all get it, and we'll go from there. But yeah, I'll double check that.
That is fantastic. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So Jennifer, I just want to say thank you to you and the rest of the county council for creating this body and for doing the work that you're doing. And I also want to thank you for coming. I know you have tons of meetings, but I also wanted to let you know that, you know, as the Monroe County Women's Commission, we do have a subcommittee on gender equity and justice response as well. So Julie has been really active in, she was at that first organizational meeting, and she's gone over some the reports, and she's made, we've met as a subcommittee and made some action items. And so our focus is to make sure that females or those that identify as female are being taken care of, equitably.
Absolutely.
So that's what I wanted just to let you know, that's what we're looking at. We're trying to, gain some information, because in the reports that Julie has reported on, there's not a lot in there about female health care. What happens if someone's pregnant? What happens if somebody, has a newborn when they come in, or, things like that. And so, of course, these are, and, any, female health issues, how are they addressed, and things like that. So those are the things that we want to get as much information on as we can, and then, start talking about those things.
I appreciate that. And if I can, that is definitely something that I was concerned about. And I've taken various tours of the jail since Sheriff Marte's riveting and eye-opening presentation back in January. And if anybody hasn't seen it, I dare you to just say, go back and see it, because when I thought in previous year, I thought I had a tour, that was like child's play to what I had seen in Sheriff Marte's presentation. But yes, that is something, because I have asked the jail staff. So for those that are, trans women or identify as women, how are they taken care of in the facility? And that was one of the biggest things that I had. And then also, I want to say maybe a few months ago, early part of the spring, I was able to go in and take a tour, and they actually allowed us to talk to the female inmates. And that was a really big eye-opener experience, and I kind of left with tears in my eyes, because obviously mental health and substance use is a huge thing, and that is the makeup of our facility, whether we like it or not. And that's why it's also important and crucial for JFAC to figure out what we can do now to divert, instead of, just throwing money into this big new shiny facility, because we know that our problems are not, any different than any other community. But that being said, we were able to talk to the female inmates, and the things that they needed, that they hadn't had before, like we take for granted, underwear, bras, things that were like, sanitary and feminine hygiene products, all of those things, it seemed to be in the past that was lacking, and that was really sad to hear. And so with this administration now, it seems to be that they are, taking care of that. They have ordered those things for the women, because it was even as simple as them, taking off their jumpsuit. And you just, again, you think of things that you don't think about, and them having to, be searched and taking things off. And it was a lot. It was things that you just really don't realize that they're needed. And it seems to be, and also this isn't something, we don't really have a women's program in the facility. And there's a lot of focus on the men in the facility. So I think that is definitely something that is really important, and things that I've talked to certain groups and organizations around town to have. And so that's what the women, they need, like a mentoring program. One of the other things that they talked about is having a financial class, helping them succeed once they get out. How do you hold on to the money, like once you go in? Again, it's the little things that you don't realize that they need that, was mentioned. And I really would love to see if there's a way that I can help and assist with, the work that you're doing. I'm totally game for it. I'll add to whatever else is on my plate. But I will definitely, that is something that I'm very passionate about. And I will say, keeps me up at night and continues to give me more gray hair underneath all of this.
Well, to that point, I think that we want to extend ourselves to you, to partner with you. If we can unload some of those things on your plate, if you need us to do outreach, or if you, things like that to organizations, or, figure out processes, even because we're concerned with also the process that one has to go through to obtain a tampon or to obtain a pad. Like, do you have to ask every time? Do you have are you given so many of the time? Just even like you said, the details that we don't think about. Those are the things that we want to pay attention to too. So if there's anything that we can do to assist you, I think that's really what we want to do.
Yeah, and I appreciate that. And I would also dare to say, I don't like saying this because I don't feel like the jail is like this zoo where, people can go in. But I also will tell people, if you don't really know and you have questions about things, they're very open. And the sheriff's office is very open and having people come in and take tours. And that's why I say sometimes I'm like, even when I go in a tour, I see what I need to see. But I don't gawk at, what we have in the facility, because everybody has, their decency and respectful as well. But I would also recommend, and I can also put, all of us together with the sheriff's office, and the correctional officer, their staff, to maybe this commission can go in and maybe talk to the female inmates and, see what else is needed and help. So that's food for thought.
Yeah,
so,
no, we would be more than happy
Okay.
to do that. If you have the time, if
Yeah.
you can facilitate that at any point in time, I think we would be more than happy to take advantage of that. There's something else I was gonna say. No, it's gone now.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think one of the first things we're gonna end up with is a report of sorts about what we've found in looking at what we're looking at, which is the available data from the previous reports and information that's been kind of gleaned from the community justice meetings that have happened and the CJRC meetings and the reports that the sheriff has been given since then. So that sort of information might give us like a starting point that we can share with you and with the JFAC, and then kind of go from there to figure out like if there's information that you all can use that we can help you figure out.
Anything. I think the more the merrier. So thank you.
Well, I want to say thank you. I know how busy you are, so thank you for your time, because I knew it was something that we were very invested in as a commission, and feel like, as we're trying to find our footing, but also, trying to figure out how we can work, this is what our purpose is to support other things in the other, offices in the community or in the county to help support that. So, and I think, one of the benefits that we might have is, we have a lot of agility to the things that we can research and look into that maybe, JFAC can't. I don't know how the legalities of everything work, but I do think that we have definitely some agility in there to,
Or just more capacity because more people.
Yeah. So
Jennifer, do you will you convey our intent and our sentiments, or would it be helpful for one of us to come to one of the meetings and just say, hey, we're the Monroe County Women's Commission, and our intention is to support this work, and if you can offload anything, task us with anything, female inmate related or diversion, or pertaining to females.
I definitely will, but I also strongly encourage and highly recommend for you all to come to our meetings too. And put that out into the universe and have it out there as well. Because the more that we have public comment that comes in, I've said it in previous meetings, I came in and I've only been on county council since December of 2021. It seems so long ago. But I've been on there since December of 21. And when I, went to the CJRC meetings, I really went in thinking one particular way, but public comment and, public educating us of certain things that I thought, I know that, it's okay, no big deal. I did it. And so I'm very open and honest with saying, come talk to us, even if it's something that I might necessarily disagree with. I can find some type of agreement of some way. And there is, goodness that can come out of disagreements as well, because we're all very passionate about, and we should be passionate about, you know, our community members that are inside that facility. So we need to do all that we can. But yes, I will definitely put that emphasis back to the committee, but I also strongly recommend everybody to come as well.
Thank you, Jennifer,
Thank you.
for your time.
Thank you so much. You can get on with your rest of your evening. You have 5 more meetings or something, probably.
No, it's an off night tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to give commission updates, real fast, or some, and I want to talk about, I have on there now, I don't know the now meeting for next week, if no one has responded to my thing, if anyone is available to come next Thursday.
I responded.
Did you? Did they? Did you? Did you see any?
It also occurs to me that do we have to, does a quorum matter? Are we going to end up with a public meeting that we need to announce if there's going to be enough of us at the Monroe County Now meeting? I mean, it's fine
We
if it
should.
is.
Oh, yeah, that's great. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm happy to do that. Yeah.
So, yeah,
Okay.
it's probably.
Who's
a
coming?
thing.
Yeah.
On the 22nd or the 29th?
22nd.
22nd, okay. Oh, okay, so it's fine, yeah, either way is fine.
22nd, 7:30, the Monroe County Public Library,
Downtown, okay.
that way. That way. I forget whatever room I booked. That would be great. I think it would be an awesome opportunity to network, and not just because Julie and I and Jennifer are all a part of that group, but I think it would be an awesome step forward for us and a great networking opportunity. Awesome. I'm glad that some of you are coming. I did want to mention, and some of this stuff I will save till later, is that because of a comment Maria made about our mission, which we'll talk about later too, the other day when I was thinking about it, I just hopped on office hours because there's office hours going on with the commissioners. And so I thought it's just easier now that I'm used to office hours, just hopping in and asking a question instead of having to do the whole email thing. So I asked Penny about that, and we'll talk about that later. And then we talked about a whole bunch of other things, but mostly in the sense of, you know, making sure that I felt like we were on track, and really what we were, you know, are we really there to serve the commission and commissioners, and do they really want to hear what we have to say? And which, you know, Penny was very adamant that they do, and they want us to come, and they want us to present what we're doing. She had some very good ideas about things that she was interested in us looking into. One of the things was she was talking about how, she didn't say this, but I heard the phrase recently, is that we're a childcare desert, you know, and looking into, you know, childcare in the community and how, you know, whatever that means necessarily means for the community. And then healthcare and veterans and women veterans, and how there's really not much interest or much information about that, and how that plays into the stuff in the community, which was also a thought. So she also mentioned, because we talked about social media. So one of the things that she said, and we should, and we're going to hopefully from now on, is use the county social media. She said all we have to do is, so like every month when we have a thing, you know, write up a blurb, who our speaker is, or the things that we're working on, and then we can get it posted on the Monroe County government's social media accounts. Because it's kind of, she was talking about how she thinks it's kind of, you know, it's not utilized that much. She tries to utilize it, but that we are more than welcome to utilize it. And I was asking her the process, and so essentially we just, you know, send it to Angie in time, and, you know, then, you know, it can get posted on their social media sites, which I think is a great opportunity for us to use that. So, that's all I really have about that.
That's interesting, because I have on here, can we have a Facebook page? Could we have our own?
Well, I've asked, we talked about that before, and I feel like I did ask Greg, and I can't remember what the answer is. But I feel like we talked about that before. Yeah, but I know I have the answer.
But they want us to use the already existing.
She didn't say we had to. I mean, that we were stuck with that, but yeah. Because I asked Greg about our email address, but he hasn't responded. So I don't know. But we can talk about that again.
Okay.
But still, I like the idea of being able to jump right in and use what's already established. Maria, I have nothing under your notes.
I don't know why you never put, but anyway, it's fine. So I
I
just wanted
asked
to
you if
say
you wanted to
Happy
sing.
Pride Month. And then also Juneteenth is coming up, and I wanted to tell everyone about the celebration that's happening, I think, in Switchyard Park on the 17th, though, and that's from 2 p.m. to 7 p.m. So, okay, so Happy Pride Month and Juneteenth celebration is Saturday, the 17th, from 2 to 7 in Switchyard Park.
Thank you. On to old and ongoing business. I know I have the commission things that we're putting on here. I don't know. I know all of us have been jumping around about watching commissioners meetings. And things, I haven't seen anything particular in the commission's meetings that needs to be reported out necessarily. So I don't know if anybody else that's been watching has anything they'd like to mention.
So I was signed up for this week, and they talked about JFAC, and we've already talked about that, so that's good. They requested more, they approved a request for more money for the sheriff fleet vehicle repairs, so that was approved with some questions, but that's good. And then Eric Spoonmore, the CEO of the chamber, was there and talked about the capital improvement board that I believe is reconvening or starting to do their work again around the convention center.
Does anybody else have anything they want to add that they've seen or read lately from the commissioners?
I don't have anything to add, but I just wanted to give a quick update right here if I could, which is I just finally sent out the Sign Up Genius this afternoon. I included you as well, Kathleen, to the attendance of the commissioner meetings on Wednesdays through the next year and a half.
Whoa.
Mic drop.
So in case you don't know, I can't remember if I told you, so she said I was Sign Up Genius. What we do, so one of the things that we've been trying to do as a commission is really just keep our eye on other things that are going on in the community. And we kind of have our, sign up for the weekly meetings for the county commissioners, county council, kind of, and then the Bloomington Commission on the Status of Women. So, and then our speakers sign up. So but anyway, so I do list them at the back of our thing, who's done them in the past and who's signed up for them in the future, so we can see that, what's going on. We do feel like it's very important for us to keep a ear to the ground, and, because, the information doesn't come to us, we have to go to it, so. And part of that is making sure, is presence, is making sure that people know that we're an active body who has very strong intentions and is paying attention. So the county council meeting report, we talked about that, I think, last time. I think maybe Molly mentioned that that they're long and, that maybe not everything necessarily is relevant to us, maybe. And that I think I recommended that if maybe instead of, because I know they're lengthy, I don't know how you guys sit through those. I would need 10 bathroom breaks, I know. Is at least reading, because I usually, if I know I can't come, I try to get on and at least read the agenda so I know what they're going to talk about. So if I know that there's something on there that is piquing my interest, that I can remember, or I can try to hop on or remember to try to watch it later. So I don't know how we feel about that necessarily, but I'm okay if you sign up, you want to go. If you want to just read the agenda and then, the minutes or, the broadcast later, feel free with that. And I don't have anything from outside of JFAC with the county council meeting that I think needs to be reported about. I don't know if anybody else has anything from council that they've noticed. I won't ask the council person in the room. Okay. And then, do you have any questions about any of that? You good?
No, I'm just
Absorbing. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So the Bloomington Commission on the Status of Women. So bad on me. Marissa Parscott is the liaison with the city government that is on the Bloomington, the Status of Women Committee. I was supposed to invite her. She said she was going to come. I had intention after I sent out the agenda that she was next to my list, and I just looked on my phone and realized I didn't send it to her, so that's my bad. I do have a lot of notes that I took because I actually went to the meeting, which was really nice to be in the room with everybody. It helps me really focus on what they're saying. So I know Marissa had asked them it was on their agenda from the meeting that I went to, if they wanted to rotate, because she asked originally, does anybody want to come? No one was like, yeah, I'll come every time. So to our meetings, she said, what about rotating again? They didn't have any takers.
How many are on the commission?
7, maybe 9, I don't know. It's whatever. But Marissa said she had planned, and I imagine she would be here if I remembered to tell her. So she's planning on coming every time to the meetings at best to our meetings. I know that I will probably always try to plan on going to theirs. So, I mean, in addition, maybe to everybody that wants to sign up here would be great. So that I learned stuff, about the Monroe County Domestic Violence Coalition, which I didn't know about. I did feel like the Young Women's Leadership Summit, the partnership with the Safe and Civil City program, they were doing some information about that. They are talked about for August doing a woman's market. Like they did Black Market in February, but doing women's market at the city hall. And then on Saturday, August 26th is Women's Equality Day. And they were, and private, is it private? And then doing something on that day too for equality. They did seem to be voting on a lot of events, which is interesting. I don't know, Penny, when I talked to her the other day, because I was talking about how jealous I was that they had money to spend, because they have money to spend. And she's like, well, I think that comes from, their luncheon, that any money that they raise during the luncheon is what they get to spend. And I was going to ask Marissa today if that's where their budget came from. Because we don't have money to spend, and it would be something, things that I would love to see in the future was us co-sponsoring events, either their luncheon or us creating our own or whatever it is. So did you have a question?
I was thinking we did have money to spend, but I think that is just, that's a grant for the girls coding camp, so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was my note right here. They have money, so jealous. They did talk about things like, they've had like a high school student in the past work on their committee, which I really love. I think we've talked about that briefly before, is having someone come be, trying to figure out who we could invite or, whatever we want to do. Cause I love mentoring women. And so young women and getting people more civically engaged, I think would be a wonderful thing. That's something we can talk about in the future too, and vote on and figure out what that would be like. It might be something that we could work on for August. So as school gets back to session, we could get it at the schools and stuff. And I think that is all I have for.
Was there
them.
anything that they wanted to partner on? Did they mention anything?
They did not mention anything to partner on necessarily. To me, at the time, and I'm not saying this is true, and I wish Marissa were here to say different, I feel, based on the one meeting that I was in person at, that we are very, not politically minded, maybe, what's the word I'm looking for? We're more engaged in that way and what? Advocacy. They seem more events, like promoting women's, through events and things, where I feel like, and maybe our approach is because, we can't throw a big gala or whatever, or at least we don't know how yet. So, but it did feel that was very different. So I did talk about tabling, can we, like for Monroe County now, maybe potentially co-sponsoring something, because, through that I have more flexibility to be able to co-sponsor or, table at some of their events and stuff. So I don't know. Okay. So yeah. But it did feel like they had some of the same issues that we've had in the past, because I have some of their past minutes, and they didn't meet quorum and things like that. So I was like, oh, well, we can all commiserate, because, it is hard to get people to do things sometimes. So, so I did mention before that, because Tiana's not here, she usually sits in that chair. She's out. She's one of our, I think I told you that already, she's one of our commissioners. And she is the kind of one of the leaders for the girls coding camp. We run a girls coding camp annually for, I don't even know how many years, 3, 4, 3, 2, I don't even know. That's funded, and it's targeted towards middle school students. We work heavily with the Luddy School for that, and we have, last year we were in RBB. We had a program on Saturdays at Luddy, and then at the Mill were the 3 sites we had in whatever. So I don't know if there has been anything with the coding camp since we met last that anybody needs to report out on.
We talked at the commission meeting last month that we needed to kind of look around for what other coding camps are out there and see if we're, if what else is out there, what the age ranges are, when things are happening, just to kind of be aware in comparison to the girls coding camp that is hosted by the Women's Commission. So I did do a little bit of searching around just to see what I could find for this year, and I've got a document that I put up on Dropbox that has kind of a list of things. I don't think that there's, at least for scheduling, I don't think there's anything that's conflicting with what we have done, because it's been in the fall, and I think everything else is like summertime and focused.
Yeah, and I don't think of the ones that I've heard about.
Yeah.
I know there's 2 others. One's focusing towards elementary. The other one is high school, so it makes sense that we're in the middle school. Again, I have some reservations about this being our project necessarily. I mean, not reservations. I don't know. Maybe reservations. Interest towards it being our project. Yeah. Because I don't want to duplicate efforts, and I feel like it's something somebody else would easily pick up that would have more capacity to do it. And I mean, if it wasn't for Tiana, probably, that has any kind of knowledge to do that. Not that we need that necessarily, but I definitely feel like we could maybe have there are better uses of our time, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I hear that, and I hear you, and I'm looking at the document right now, and it does look like we are the only ones who do that age range.
Yes.
Girls Inc. are younger, Sylvan Learning Center, but I bet that's a paid one, and ours is free.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you've got to pay
And
to sign up for that one.
I do think that we have, since we've done it, since not we or us specifically, but since the commission has done it several years in the past, and we do have the support from those partners like the Mill, like Ivy Tech, like MCCSC, that, I think girls in STEM is important. Definitely we can discuss it, for next year, but as long as we have this grant with the money that we have, we need to do it. That's all I
I
want to
thought
say.
it wasn't a grant.
We've got funding. I don't
We
know
have
if it is
funding.
literally a
I'm
grant
sorry.
or if it's budgeted money
I don't
that
think
we're
it
given.
is a grant.
No,
So,
I'm sorry,
yes.
it's not a
Yeah.
grant. It is a line item that the commissioners gave to,
The county council approved.
I'm sorry, county council approved for us, yes.
I think that is my issue. Of course it's important, right? Of course, women in STEM, girls in STEM, awesome. I'm just saying if we have $10,000, and I have no idea, and I'm not saying I want to cancel, I'm just saying.
No, I know.
If we have $10,000, is there something else that would be more impactful for the community when somebody else might easily pick it up, might pick up a grant for it or do it on their own, that we didn't have to, and we could ask for money to do other things, is
Right.
all I'm saying.
No, I hear you. And we did talk to them about if we didn't use all of the funds, could we roll it over into another project? Because the commissioners are going to create a account basically for us. We're not to be a fundraising body by any means, but if we were to apply for grants and be awarded or anything like that, then that would go in there. But I'm not really a STEM person myself, but I do believe that it's important for females and getting them at that middle school age that you can do this. Look, you can make this website, you can do whatever, but we can always have conversations.
Yeah, I'm not as confident that if we don't do girls coding camp that we can use that money for something else. Like I think that money has been set up for doing girls coding camp specifically.
Yeah, I agree. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. I'm just saying it's something I would like to look into as we all get grounded in our commission.
Well, and I think it's, Susan, I hear what you're saying too. Maybe just after this year or as we're debriefing about this year's coding camp to revisit kind of what our role is. Have we set it up? Are there other things to set up with it? Should we think about passing it on? Is there another entity or something that could take ownership of it and continue it and make sure that we're, and if not, let's continue. But if so, goodness, we might be able to pass it to another entity that can easily pick it up or absorb it. And then we could use our attention and stuff to do some other projects as well. Yeah, kind of just maybe revisiting it after this year to decide like if we want to reconsider or consider again, like do we want to shift the direction at all or keep it going? Yeah.
I know we have a lot to talk about gender equity justice response subcommittee. I know we've met, Julie, Maria, and I met since we met last. I am gonna let Julie talk about it all.
Yeah, so we, the subgroup did get together and we did a review basically of the documents that were up on the CJRC site, just kind of digging through to see what is available from those reports regarding women or women identifying inmates and their needs and experiences. And we had kind of we already had that preliminary report when we met, and then we kind of got together and decided we were trying to figure out what to do from there. And we were discussing, it turned into a conversation about, well, we've got this information from this report from like 2020, which was actually for statistics up through like 2003 to 2018. So it's kind of old data at this point. And so our question was, is there a way to get more current information and statistics about what's happened in recent time? And so then we kind of went off from there, and I was trying to draft something like an email to ask like, what is the questions that we want to find out? Who would we ask, and that sort of thing. So I kind of put together this email of what we would be interested in learning more about, and then started looking at how, where would we send this to even ask? How do we do that? And the sheriff's website doesn't really have an email address to send to for that sort of question. You can fill out a form to make requests, but you can only request records. So you can't really, that doesn't really get us to this like overall data to do the analysis that we were interested in doing. So I think that's where we ended up coming around to the latest thought is this report summary of the findings that we have. We're thinking we might be passing that along or sharing that with the JFAC, and then maybe going from there to figure out, is there some way to kind of update the numbers, figure out where things stand with what we're seeing for like the number of women in prison, the number of the amount of time, the average amount of time that a woman is spending in prison, that sort of thing. So that's kind of, I think, where things are. We probably do need to get together at some point again soon here, but yeah, that was.
Yeah, let's schedule that. And I do want to recognize Julie for doing so much work.
Oh my
She's
gosh.
the one that's doing all the data analysis, and it's amazing. So she's doing all that work and then just presenting the information to Susan and I, and then we talk about it. So she's doing all the work.
True. I second that. All in favor, say aye. All right. Well, maybe we could set it up. So, automatically just monthly we're meeting or something. I don't know, whatever. So I would be all for that, especially if we could just set a date and time and roll that out. Okay. That is the end of old and ongoing business I know about. New business, we already talked about JFAC. I just put it in there so I would remember, so when Jennifer could show up, we would talk about it. New business, other new business, section B, item B is mission. So as I sent this out, as I did for, I think, for you guys to look at and provide feedback on, and Maria responded with, I'm not really, that maybe it's time to update our mission. So, our mission is to advance the status of women in all areas of county life and to champion women's contributions to local culture and society. We do have, according to Commissioner Gittens, we have opportunity to rewrite our mission if we so desire and present it to the county commission. So, I'll let Maria talk about what she thinks and why.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just trying to find things to do, I guess. I don't know. But anyway, I like the first paragraph or the first sentence. The commission shall serve in an advisory role to assist residents, blah, 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 blah. The mission is to advance the status of women in all areas of county life. I kind of want to say period, and not doing the champion women's contribution to local culture and society. I don't, because like Susan mentioned earlier, I feel like we're trying to be more of an advocacy body, and of course we care about culture and society, but this is why we're doing this work, and I don't know. I just think that can
You
go.
feel it feels very 50s. We're all housewives sitting around waiting for our husbands to get home.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I think as I absolutely understand what you're saying and agree. As we're kind of finding our footing here and developing ourselves as a commission and knowing that we have a pretty dynamic and impassioned group. I don't know that we're spending much time in those areas, and we seem to be very much drawn to advocacy, kind of education and that kind of work, less about contributions to culture and stuff like that. That's there, but we're not really spending our time. I'm thinking of, we're not really doing events. We're not really having, like our speakers even that come, like they're coming with purpose, with passion, and that's what we're kind of seeking out.
I feel like we're at the county fair, like presenting the blue ribbon to whoever baked the best pie.
To the pie, yeah.
I don't know. And I don't want to do, because I love pie, and that is art. I'm not going to lie.
Listen, like.
I mean, does this body do any like Women of the Year? I picture like a Woman of the Year award or like.
The city
Is that-
does. It is
yes.
something in the future that I would love to work with the city on and co-sponsor that event or something where we could, but no, we do not do anything like that. But it is something I wouldn't
Not
mind doing
yet.
in the future. Not yet.
Well, then would you leave it in then if that's something that, I mean, that's what I picture when it's talking about that. It's kind of you're doing those recognitions of women in the county that have done advocacy work or business owners.
I
That's what I'm
personally,
picturing
yeah,
with
those are
part.
great questions, and that does lend itself to that last part of the question, or last part of the statement. However, I personally think that there's enough. So, the city status on women does Women of the Year, and then there's several other awards, and they're all female. The chamber does the Women Excel Bloomington Awards, which there's usually 5 to 6 people. There's the Be More or women. There's the Be More Awards, which is both identifying men and women. So I kind of feel like the award part, the recognition part, is possibly taken care of. I love to give out awards, so if we can think of something new and innovative for us to do, but also. Like we were saying, I think we're more doing that advocacy piece and on what, the meso level or whatnot. Yeah.
It does seem like you're working more with systems, like you're trying to work on changing systems rather than doing this individual piece. That's just a quick observation.
Chiming in on our first meeting. So
Give
I
her
don't
an
know what the
award.
action item is. I don't know what our next steps are for that. If anybody has any
I
recommendations.
move that we consider this and come back to it and discuss at a later meeting and kind of continue this conversation.
Do
Can
I
I
have?
second that?
I don't know.
Even though
Okay,
it's my
yes.
thing? Okay.
Yes, does that work? Or-
Yeah, she made the motion. Do you
I made a
second?
motion.
I second, yes.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Did you aye?
I
Motion passes that we revisit this in the future now that we have it's on the table, so it'll stay in ongoing business. Okay, Beth, you're a hero for sticking with us. I don't know, Nikki, would you like to introduce Beth?
I would love to introduce Beth. So, this is Beth Clausen, parent, hero, and advocate extraordinaire for the trans youth community. You have probably seen her on the local news in all forms of media, championing trans youth rights, particularly focused in on working hard against the slate of hate. And so I was asking that she come and share some information with us. So this is Beth Clausen.
There we go. Okay, so this is working. This is very strange. Just see myself on screen and B talk. Thank you so much for inviting me, Nikki. And I am so glad that I actually came to the meeting because the justice and the county jail are things that I'm so interested in, but also don't have the emotional energy lately to follow. So it was a really excellent chance for me to get an education. Let's see, I will pass this around. It's not gonna do much good because it's mostly links. I think Nikki said that she could share it electronically too, so y'all can go to the links on your own. I guess I'll start with a quick intro, a little bit more than Nikki did. I have 3 children, ages 19, 18 next week, and 10 years old. And my youngest daughter, Kieran, is the 10-year-old, and she is transgender. She transitioned when she was 3, so about 7 years ago. So she's been living as herself for 7 years. It's really been a boring life, mostly. We figured out what was troubling her. We solved it, and we moved on for a good 5 years with, we live in a progressive area, so we didn't have a lot of, we didn't have any pushback, to be honest. And then starting last year, the sports ban began for the trans girl sports ban, and that's kind of when we started speaking out publicly. We've always advocated quietly, as every parent tends to, but especially parent of trans kids, to make sure that every situation that she's in is safe, making sure the school is allowing her to be herself and making sure that there's no harm coming to her. But as the legislation started heating up, we started speaking out a little bit more. We honestly have the privilege to be able to do it. I actually am not working because I'm doing this full time, but we have jobs that allow for us to take time away. We have jobs that not only allow for us to take time away, but applaud us for the things that we're doing or encourage us to do it. And we also happen to have a child who is very spirited, for lack of a better word. Nikki could say, she's very spirited and very vocal and very proud, and she knows herself very well. I wish I knew myself as well as she knows herself. So with her encouragement, we have continued to speak up. I will say that if she ever changes her mind, that the first thing we'll do is pull back, because her comfort level is what is most important to us. And that might happen soon, because she is getting to that teenager age. When we do speak, we are not speaking for all trans people. We are not speaking for all trans families. They come in all shapes and sizes and every way you can imagine, and there is not one way to be a trans family. It's not safe for some trans families to speak up because of where they live. Unfortunately, a lot of families that have trans children are not affirming, which is even more reason why those of us that can try to speak up. Let's see, so last year we had the sports ban. This year it's been atrocious. In Indiana, we have SB 480, which is the gender affirming care ban. It's set to go in effect. It passed, it's set to go in effect on July 1st. The hearing actually was yesterday for the injunction. Hopefully will be granted, and we are a part of the lawsuit. So we were there listening to the disgusting things said about our child in court. But hopefully there will be an injunction. Then we have HB 1608, which is not just for trans children, but for the LGBTQ youth and families in the state. That's the Don't Say Gay bill, where they can't speak about human sexuality, because really what they're saying is, if you're not cisgender and heterosexual, we don't want to hear about it, or that's not our place to talk about. And that is really scary and hard. One of the reasons that Kieran is thriving as well as she is that she's had a community in her schools since she was in preschool, where she was able to freely talk about herself, educate the teachers constantly. I mean, educating the students around her, and being able to talk openly about her experiences, about reminding people that there's not just boys and there's not just girls. There's also not just trans boys and not just trans girls. It's a whole spectrum. And everybody needs to be recognized and seen. Everybody needs to be able to see themselves in literature and in the world, and everybody needs to see others in literature and the world. And that is being taken away from students, families, and teachers. I have a statistic. It's teeny tiny on the sheet that I gave you, but it says that this is specifically for trans people, but trans youth, 31%, or maybe it's 32% have affirming homes. That means there's 68% of trans kids out there with a home that's not affirming. But they have 51% of the trans community have affirming schools. So while that's still not a very big number, it's higher than that number at home. And without being in affirming spaces, it sends the suicide rate, it skyrockets. The LGBT, I didn't put it on here, the link to the survey is in the notes I gave you. The LGBTQ youth community in general also is affected. The trans numbers are a little bit higher, but it's very similar for the LG and B part of the community. And so that is one reason why HB 1608 is really it's just dreadful. It's dangerous is what it is. And then you also add the fact that parents with 1608 schools have the ability, they have the requirement to tell families if their student or their child would like to use a different name or different pronouns. And then you already see the difference that 68% of those kids don't have affirming homes. So the school is the only place that they can feel safe. And then when you then share that information with their family is now less safe. The homelessness for the trans community is giant. It leads to child abuse. Sorry, I try to stay on the surface so I don't get too emotional. Another statistic is that 93% of trans and non-binary youth worry about being denied access to gender-affirming care. And I see that in my own kid. She also has type 1 diabetes, so she sees doctors all the time. And she is afraid, or she was, we've helped her, that she thought that meant that she didn't receive any care. I'm trans, and I don't receive any care, Mom. And I had to tell her that that's not the case right now. I mean, I didn't say that to her. I didn't say that's not the case right now to her. But if you look throughout the country, that is a real possibility. We have in the freedom of religion, you know, there's states saying that we can refuse to offer care to trans individuals because I don't feel comfortable treating them. If I took my child to a hospital in Florida because she has type 1 diabetes, there is the possibility that they will say, I'm sorry, your child is trans, it is against my beliefs to care for this child. And they can also say, you're giving your child gender-affirming care, we can take your child, because it is child abuse in certain places. So this is, at a state level, it's terrible. At a national level, I would say it's even worse. And what is happening in Florida and in Texas and in Missouri will be happening here next year. It's not gonna stop here. So while they're attacking kids in Indiana now, it will be more strict with kids next year, and it will then include trans adults not getting the care they need. So that's why I'm speaking out. Let's see. We, here in Bloomington, we have started a group called Protect Our People. And it's myself and several other people. I think everyone is here in Bloomington. And our first step has been reaching out to Riley Gender Clinic, because Riley Health does have a gender clinic. Kieran's been going there since she was 4. It's a wonderful place. Once this law goes into effect, should it go into effect on July 1st, all gender-affirming care will be stopped. Not only will it be stopped, they will not be able to share information with families. So we have reached out to Riley, and they have shared with us the resources that they have so that we can give it to families when the doctors can no longer speak. So we've been scrambling to get organized and set up so that doctors would have an opportunity to pass the information of our organization so that they would know where to find it. So our next steps is to get into other areas. You know, we're trying to get a social media presence. We're trying to, so that people can find us when they can no longer ask their doctors. Fortunately, it's still legal for us as families to receive or to get that care for our child, but we have to leave the state. And the only states, well, let's see, the states that are the safest are Illinois, which is close, but they're having an influx of 14 other states with these healthcare bans coming in at once. So like the Children's Hospital of Chicago right now is not accepting any out-of-state patients because they have 14 different states at least of laws to go through to make sure that they're not doing anything wrong and serving the children from those states. Michigan is safe, Minnesota is safe, but then you also have to take into account that not everyone can afford to go to these places for that care. So that is Protect Our People's next goal, is to raise funds to offer aid to people who need help getting out of state for care, as well as offering rides for those that don't have transportation to get care. So instead of taking, even for me who lives in Bloomington, it takes us an hour to get to Riley when we go to her appointment. So, it's about a 3-hour trip. We have an hour there, an hour two there, an hour at the doctor, an hour home, and that's it. But it's going to take people up to 2 to 3 days of missing work to take their kids to the doctor. It's also delaying care because there's so many people coming in and you have to make an appointment, and we have to have initial appointments before they will start care. We have to provide all of the same paperwork that we had to the gender clinic at the beginning. So it's a lot. It's a lot. Let's see. What else do I have? I also have some links. I want to point out that trans rights and women's rights and reproductive rights are so intertwined. It is about bodily autonomy. It is about having agency over your own body. It is about being able to make medical decisions on your own with your doctor. And it's something that even the trans bills affect women. There was a story that just came out yesterday in Canada of a 9-year-old girl who was throwing a shot put at the track meet, and a man stood up and said, "This is a girls' event. What is this person? What is this? How are you letting this boy compete?" It's a cisgender, assigned female at birth girl. The man was yelling to the mothers that she was a groomer and a pedophile. And it was just because he could. Because she looked like she was stronger, big. I don't know what she looked like. I haven't seen a picture, but something about her, she had short hair. So we have people accusing people of cheating because they look strong or they look like a girl. And so even the trans bills are affecting non-trans people. And then you look at the amount of control. When we were in the State House, so many times, the reasoning for the health care ban was not for the safety of children like they claim it is. It is because there will be less children. Like it is over childbirth, like it's over uteruses. That is what I saw when the people really started talking that were for the bill. They were talking about the fact that when trans men are trans men, then we're losing the population. It is the right of, I have heard it is the right of the grandparents, it's the right of grandparents to have grandchildren, and you're taking that away from my family. I mean, it is that ridiculous. It has nothing to do with the safety of children. It has to do with controlling bodies, is where we're at. So as a city and a county, like I said, we're really fortunate here. We had a rally in April, and the Monroe County Commissioners had a proclamation acknowledging Trans Day of Visibility, which was really special, and Kieran has it framed at home. And we have the Monroe County School Commission that offered a resolution supporting, continuing support for the LGBTQ community. But even with those things, it's scary because while my child now goes to the project school, but when she was at MCCSC, she was at a very, very affirming, supportive school. But if we had gone to another school 5 miles away, I don't know which school that would be, but there's a chance that the school would not have been as accommodating and understanding because there is not a corporation-wide policy. It's just we got lucky that we were in a school with an understanding social worker and an understanding principal. So there's things like that as a county that we can still do. We need to really support our teachers as well, because a lot of our teachers are struggling with how they're going to continue keeping their classrooms safe like they have been. That is, that's something also we haven't had the brain power to get there yet. But that is something as the Protect Our People group that we're trying to work on too. We're also, I know Bartholomew County has a mental health initiative, and so we're gonna collaborate with them to have a talk about how important gender affirming care is for mental health. Let's see. I don't want to run, how long? Do y'all have any questions? My brain is everywhere.
I have a million.
Sure.
Okay, my first question is, the bill, because I don't know about it, one of the bills you're talking about that stops gender affirming care?
Mm-hmm.
Or, so it makes it illegal for doctors to provide? Are they allowed to choose whether or not? It makes it just flat out illegal.
Yeah. I
So
mean, it's not criminal, but they will lose their license.
Okay. It'd be nice if it, whatever. Okay, my second question is, how are the insurance companies weighing in? Because to me, it would seem like, for maybe as much as I'm not pro-insurance, that they have a lot of say in this kind of situation.
So I know as a family, we are, again, very fortunate because my husband works for a company that has wonderful benefits for trans care, but that is not the norm. Like, often you have to fight for trans care through insurance anyways. So they don't think they have much pull. I do know that some of the doctors I've talked to have, as soon as the bill was passed, their liability insurance people were calling them saying, you're not gonna do anything, right? Like, you offer trans care. How are you gonna handle this? Because we don't wanna be sued. So it's money to them, and they don't want to have liability. So I don't know how much insurance.
Well, I mean, they could be powerful lobbyists if they,
Yes.
because they lobby about a lot of stuff. If they were pro-trans care, then they, but, okay. I've lost my other ones now, but I'm very angry, so.
Me too. Which is why I'm like, we've been living this specifically for the past 6 months between the State House and meeting with senators and now the court case. So my brain is so frazzled, and I don't remember things nearly as well as I did 6 months ago. And I just jump everywhere. So I am happy to answer questions if you have them. I did on the sheet, again, I have some ally resources, like ways you can be an ally and ways to educate yourself. And on the news, I added a couple of articles about how feminism and trans rights activists they need to work together, and how women's rights and trans rights are linked. I have a couple of stories about the bills that are coming to effect in Indiana. I have a story about the one that we did recently, and there's a little video about Kieran, and it kind of, you can see her spitfireness, I guess. And then on the back, you turn over, there's Erin in the Morning. Erin is a trans woman who reports solely on the trans legislation in the country. And she has Substack, thank you. But it's free, like you can pay, but you don't have to pay to read all of her things. So I put a couple of really good links. She has a map of all of the anti-trans bills, and it's hard to look at. I also put some of the resources we have. I put Protect Our People, and then TASK is a group that is part of Bloomington Pride, and it stands for Trans and Ally Support Community, I think is what it stands for. And it's mostly geared towards adult trans people, but it's definitely useful. It was very helpful. It was one of the first places we went when we realized that Kieran was transgender, and it really helped us define the trans community and make sure Kieran's a part of it. She has so many trans elders, I guess, for lack of better wording. And then I put Kaleidoscope in here, which is the LGBTQ group for people ages 12 to 20. And then embarrassingly, I have to go to Spencer Pride. Not that there's anything embarrassing with Spencer Pride, but that I have to go so far out for a really strong Pride group in the area. Spencer Pride is a really great place to get resources.
So Beth, I would also, well, first of all, thank you so much. And how can we help you? So you've probably been thinking about that. But I also want to encourage you to put Middle Way House on the local organizations that can be
excellent.
partners, because we are very affirming, and we have support groups for youth.
And I will say the Middle Way House has always done an excellent job of when they go to the schools.
Yes.
And they speak. That is, it's been one of my
Yes.
favorite
Thank you.
things. It's really great.
That's one of the best. Yeah, the building healthy relationships.
Yeah.
But we also have support groups for youth. Anywhere, LGBT, trans, we have. So we don't publish, the times or the places you can call to get information about that. And so I just wanted to
Excellent. Yeah,
let
thank
you
you
know
so
about
much.
that.
I appreciate that.
So how can we help you?
I think one of the things that as a group, one of the things that I think you can do is just always remembering that not only are trans women, which clearly you do, but trans men need support too, because they have the same body parts and they have the same issues with bodily autonomy that women do. So really, trying to remember to include them as well, because they are kind of a forgotten, a little, I don't want to say forgotten or lost. They're not forgotten or lost, but just, I think they get left out of the conversation a lot for two reasons. One, misogyny. They're like, well, they're not real. So the misogynists think that, they're not really men, so they don't worry about them, like they're just, I don't know exactly how to explain it really, but they don't see them as a threat, so they don't really worry about them. But also, people forget that they need health care, reproductive health care, just like cisgender women do. Another thing is, I would strongly recommend as a commission, when there's an opening, reaching out to a trans woman to become a part of the board. There's so many very active, politically active, socially active trans women in this community that I could name 10 right now. that would be lovely. I think that's something that would be really a really wonderful thing and really appreciated as well. I think that as individuals, stopping the mistruths when you hear them, or asking, or even if you don't know if it's a mistruth, asking like, that doesn't sound like something that I have heard before. Like, where are you getting your information? Or can you tell me where you're getting the information? Because there's a lot of misinformation. A lot of people don't know a trans person, or they don't realize that they know a trans person. For safety reasons, a lot of people do not share their gender identity. And I'm at a loss right now. I will say, because of my child, I see the world so differently than I would say 90% of the world. Like, when I think of gender equality or gender equity, I don't think of men and women. I think of, like, there's so many genders, and everyone needs to be at the same place, not just women being the same place. It's so much more, to me, gender is so much more than a binary thing. And I think that's really hard for a lot of people to understand. Yeah, I could speak for hours on that. It's changed the literature I read. Like, there's books, Nikki's was in my book club, and there are certain books that we read that they're so binary that I can't even read them anymore. It's just not how I see the world. So I think that is something I would like, especially a women's commission, to kind of think about and in the back of their heads, even when they're not discussing trans issues or discussing women's issues. It's just, it's so much more than one or the other. So,
People issues?
people issues. Like, I really appreciated when you said council person. You know, that's the kind of language that would you know, it applies to everybody. There's no singling out. And things like that, I think, are really, really important. They're tiny little changes, but they make a big difference.
I think
You know-
that's something that could be part of the mission conversation. We can think about it that way, in that context.
I have, it was one of my, and not that I've done anything, but I would really like to bring back rhinos. Do you remember rhino? Did you know
Yeah,
rhinos?
yeah. I mean, I don't actually, my kids last time
They,
I was
they're
here,
too,
they
they're
were tiny.
too young,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. But I
I
know what it
really,
is.
it's, yeah, we would do it. But really something, and, you know, an environment like that for youth, anybody, you know, for all youth, someplace where they would go and everyone would feel welcome. And I think it is a huge missing, it's a missing thing in our community, especially because we had it once and it disappeared. So now we know how good it could be. So it has been something that has been on my mind, is, you know, and talked about with some people lightly, is how to, you know, make something like that possible again. So that's just made me remember going, oh yeah, I want to bring back a rhinos kind of thing. But I wanted to call it the unicorn, but I was voted out. No, I said no.
And I have a quick question. With the Middleway House, would it be possible for me to drop off our information with you? Because it might be a good place for people to find it.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Anytime. So it's 24/7, 338 South Washington, the New Wings entrance.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
My pleasure.
So this isn't a local question, but is the Eskenazi clinic then closing?
So Eskenazi is the adult clinic. Riley has a gender health clinic that is separate. And no, they are not closing. They're having to change the way that they operate, and they're not exactly sure how that's going to work yet. They're certainly still offering affirming mental health care and social services. But we don't know what that will look like, because there could be no referring to anybody to to things that they might need, because that will be considered aiding and abetting, and then mental health workers will lose their license. So they're actually in the process, and I have a whole survey that I have to fill out. They're actually in the process of talking to patients of the gender clinic, how that's going to look, what that's going to look like, what they need from the patient. So right now they're actively working to figure out what their patients need. I have heard talk that there's a possibility that they will put satellite offices right on the border of Indiana, which would be really helpful, but that takes time and money and lots of hoops to jump through before that can happen. So that's where they're at right now.
So we have 2 minutes left, and it's not just us, it's TSD that does the tech stuff, but thank you so much. And I want to keep in touch, and just know that you can always pop into public comments, because, I mean, we would love to have a public commenter, just to have one, but also just to keep us informed about how we can help, or what you have going on, if there's anything that you would like us to amplify, or just amplify it by being here and getting it in the minutes, and, you know, that sort of thing. And we plan, as this commission pulls together, and, you know, we plan to grow our presence and our footprint, and, you know, hopefully we will have, you know, an audience at some point, if we don't already.
Yeah, and I will add, like, if there's ever a time, I don't know all the spaces that you're in, but if there's ever a time that you need or would like to have a conversation, I am happy to speak to whoever will listen to me,
Well, I
or
would
to
definitely
whomever
like to
will listen to me.
keep you in mind as we establish our mission, to make sure that it's hitting the right notes and things, to make sure we are as inclusive as, you know, we all know we want to be. But if we have the opportunity to put it in writing somehow, as, you know, that we would definitely like to make sure we do it correctly, so.
And
Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for listening to me.
I don't think, is there any, I don't know if there's anybody even, probably not. No, there's not. Ugh. Hey, it says 7. Oh, the panelists, okay. Well. And the bell calls. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.